Okay, this is gonna be a little unorthodox, but I'm gonna try to make it quick and painless as possible. We're gonna start off in our base zombie here for projectile overlapping kills and giving on zombies and zombie survival template. There's a lot you have to change with your doors and stuff, just a forewarning. The collision on invisible blocking components and stuff like that, but we'll get into that towards the end. Um, First things first, don't worry about any of this junk. This had a headshot delay, so if I came out of event point damage, got the base projectile, got the hit bone that was set in the base projectile, set it, and then for the zombie or whatever, it would have a headshot delay, and it was pretty rough to deal with. We're going to set it in the projectile instead. However, if you're using a hit scan, you still might need this. I haven't looked at any of the hit scan stuff, so I'm not sure if you're setting the bone anywhere in the hit scan stuff or if you're doing it here. If it's here, you're going to need this somehow for hit scan guns. I'm only using projectiles, so I don't need this. I would suggest probably doing like get base projectile, right, like this, if you're going to use hit scan, and then do an is valid, and then go, okay, is base projectile is not valid, then set the hit bone like this. And then is valid, get rid of this and this. And then have this go straight like that. That's what I would recommend. That way you're not getting the hit bone from the projectile, it's still just firing through this. However, you might have a little bit of a delay because you're getting this actor of class. You can mitigate that with this, which we'll touch on in just a moment. But just be aware of that. This is not really set for hit scan. You're going to have to kind of switch to all projectiles. You can try it with a hit scan, but again, you might have delays. It's up to you. This should help with delays. So I'll put this back for now. And then you can let me know how well that works with hit scans, if that's something you're using on top of, you know, projectiles or whatever the case may be. And you can try it this way with hit scans, see if it works. I'm not sure. And I think that's all you need to do here, minus this. You need to just add a custom event like that. And you can name it gib redundant, gib number 2, gib again, or just gib, doesn't matter, and then plug that right into check for gibbing. It doesn't need to be replicated or anything. You can just normal custom event, and on event any damage, just plug in the, you can just come out here and do call your event gib, and go into your, if you have insta-kill, plug it into your insta-kill branch and wherever else it fires off. So as soon as that zombie gets damaged, it's going to check for a gib, which does help with this setup like this, with mitigating delays on headshots or gibbing. It helps a lot, actually, so I would recommend that if you're trying to do, if you're having issues. I think that's it for code, for just overlapping. We're not really going to touch base on effects. This is just for making sure the bullet goes through the zombie and kills it. You'll already have zombie effects because that's set up right here. Spawn limb and the chunks and stuff. And then, yeah, the emitter. So you won't have to worry about a zombie effect. You'll just have to worry about effects in the world, setting up those with your projectile. Oh, collision. Your collision channels need to look like this on your capsule component. So set it up just how you see here. Make sure it's a pawn type, enabled quarry and physics, custom collision preset, and copy that. Your mesh needs to be a physics body type. That should already be the way it is. You need to simulate generate hit events and generate overlap events. Make sure, again, the collision responses are set like so, and that you also have use continuous collision detection on, because the bullet's moving so fast And I still can't get any clarification on whether this needs to be in the projectile or in the thing that you're hitting the projectile with. So I'm just playing on the safe side. I haven't had any performance issues with this. Put continuous collision detection on your zombie mesh, because that's what we're going to be overlapping. And I think that's pretty much it for zombie. And I'll explain why this is overlapping world dynamic, because your projectile is going to end up being a world dynamic type. And if it is a world dynamic, it also ignores world dynamic objects, which is where we get into the doors and stuff, making sure that it's not hitting invisible walls. Next step, double check our base projectile. You go to weapons, projectile weapons, projectile BP, and your base projectile should all look like this, minus this. This is my call to ballistics visual effects. I don't think you're going to need this. This is for hits and stuff with BVFX. Should look just like this. You might not have Niagara, or you might have Niagara, but that's where you would plug it in. Make sure your max damage, can't damage self, everything is as you see here. Don't do too much stuff in here. Your event hit looks like this. Should be stock, nothing crazy. And then your lifespans and stuff on the base bullet. You're going to be not obviously using this. You're going to use your child blueprint classes. So you can close that for now. And as you can see here, I have all my projectile classes. I would recommend opening up your, I think you either have bullet projectile or sniper projectile, one of these. It should look like something like this. You're going to need, if you're not using your own visual effects, you're going to need all of this. So if you're dragging it to another blueprint or one you just created, you can copy all this and put it in there. I don't use any of this stuff or this. I'm only using this stuff, and I'm only going to talk about this stuff right here. And I'll show you in the other projectile class. But yeah, copy all this stuff. Let's save that. Here's my example. I have this just base pistol projectile. And this is where your damage and everything is. Again, if you're using your own visual effects, you're going to get rid of this multicast effects here and call it in your cubic uni projectile or whatever that may be. Your server applied damage is going to do this, but what's different here, don't worry about any of this stuff, minus this, what you need, and don't worry about any of this, don't worry about any of this, it's all effects, or any of this in white right here. We're going to focus on the purple, this right here, and then this right here. So, what you need is you need to right click your sphere collision here, add event, and then on component begin overlap, which is going to be up here. Create that, drag it up. Out of here, you're going to get a sweep result, set it, plug that in like that. We're going to sequence this because we want this code to fire before any of this other code fires, to make sure that when we hit the zombie, it does exactly what it does to the zombie first and doesn't wait on any other code to fire off. Come out of this, get your break hit result. We're going to use this hit bone name right here, but to get this, drag out of here, hit bone. You're going to set hit bone, not bone hit, or set hit bone, and then plug your hit bone name into the hit bone from the zombie. And that's where you're telling the zombie what bone you've actually hit with the projectile on the overlap. This hit character is what's called up here on apply point damage if it's not the third person character. So we're coming through this, the cast is going to fail because it's a zombie, and then that's getting the hit character that we set down below when it overlapped. Yeah, because we're calling server apply damage again. So as soon as you hit damage, you're setting that hit character and then you're applying point damage. So if you, this hit character variable isn't going to be here when you search for it. It's going to be hit actor. This is actually in your base projectile. So when you open up your base projectile here, it also won't be on the right, I don't believe. Yeah, it is. So your hit character is here. If you don't have it, just variable. And let me get rid of this. It's a variable. Oh, I'm an idiot. Hit character. It is a variable type of character. The way you get that is type in character, come down to character, object reference. And then that's set here. We don't have to do anything with it here. You can come back. Don't drag out of the base zombie because it's not part of the zombie. Just right click character, get hit character, or set hit character, and set that, plug it into the hit bone, and then you're gonna come out of this and call your server up, if I can spell today, your server apply damage again, and then that fires again up here. The next thing you want to do is we need to tell the bullet to stop after it penetrates X amount of zombies, which is, I think, really the last most important thing other than collision channels. Create a variable type right here, and we're going to make it an integer. So you can name it penetration count or penetration amount or whatever you want to call it. Integer type. Drag out of this, set pen. Set penetration count, get the penetration count, drag out of here, get. This does need to be replicated, I believe. Yeah, I think I tested this without replication. I had issues with it. So the way you can set this, I'm on the wrong thing here. Replicated, and I think that's all you need to do. I think it just needs to be replicated, just to be safe. Add 1. So every time that this sphere collides with whatever you want it to collide with, or anytime it collides with anything, so wood, zombies, doesn't matter. If it overlaps, you're going to add 1 penetration count to the penetration count. This is, again, don't worry about this white because this is ballistics VFX. Come right out of this and make a branch. So B, left click, and you're going to get your penetration count again, drag it out, and you're going to drag out of your penetration count and do a greater equal like this. And if this number, which your penetration count should default be 0. So yeah, make sure that this is set to 0. If it pins 6 objects, then this is equal to or greater than 6, it's going to destroy the actor. It'll just disappear the bullet. And then if it's false, you don't have to do anything here unless you want to do fancy stuff with your bullet, like slow it down. You could change the, you can get projectile movement, change the velocity threshold, and make it bounce and do a bunch of crazy shit. You can change the exit velocity, and you don't have to get crazy with all this stuff here. You could just make an exit velocity, right, and then set the projectile, change the projectile movement speed on exit after it pins. Each time it pins, it'll change it. You could also make another variable that says pin once, pin twice, pin 3 times, true, false. Make it this speed, make it this speed, make it this speed, but we won't really go too deep. If you guys want me to make a video on that, I can get really crazy with this, but most of this is from Ballistics VFX anyway. I just like it and it works really well. So I recommend getting their kit. You can scalp all the code from Ballistics VFX and kind of run and do whatever you want with it, but you don't have to do anything after that. We do need a projectile stop. So you can go to your projectile movement, add event on projectile stop, we have to have the delay here. For some reason, it doesn't work without the delay of a 0.1. Come out of this. We're going to not sweep this time. We're going to get impact result, or set it. Drag out of that. And, of course, we're going to break our hit result. And we are going to... I need to double check this code because I don't think I'm doing anything with this right here. We're casting to character, right? You could just destroy actor, right, out of this impact result. You might not even need this break or anything. But what I would do in revision of this code right here, because you're not telling the zombie, if that bullet does stop on a zombie, if it's greater than or equal to 6 and it does a projectile stop, or even if you have it up here in a separate line of code, right? If the projectile movement is X amount of speed, then we're just going to call it a projectile stop and not bounce, right? Then you still want it to hit the zombie and gib check them. So I would probably come out of this and do a cast to base zombie instead, and do set hit bone like this, and do hit bone name like that. And if it's true, we're casting and we're setting the hit bone if it's a successful cast, and then we can go to destroy actor. But if it's failed, we'll also destroy actor. That way we're not failing a cast and not doing anything. So I would probably do it like this, just to make absolutely sure if for some reason you get an on projectile stop on a zombie, that it still calls the hit or sets the hit bone to the zombie. And if it doesn't hit a zombie, you don't have to worry about it. It just destroys the actor. So don't do this. I don't know why that's here. I think I fucked that code up. I'll look back into that later. And then you should be done with that. I don't... yeah, collision. We need to go over collision. Make sure this is a world dynamic type. Generate overlap events. Set it up just like how you see here. It is going to also be a CCD. You don't really need to worry about all that, but yep, set it up just like this. Again, because if it's a world dynamic, we're ignoring world dynamics. So this bullet will never hit a world dynamic. I think that's it for this. And then let me double check. I think that's pretty much it. If you have any issues with it, I'll go over the collision stuff here. For instance, I don't know, why are these linked? I don't know why they're linked. They shouldn't be linked. Anyway, this is, I'll show you real quick. This is a world static. If you wanted to penetrate an object and hit that object and give you an effect on that object, that's ballistic VFX stuff, right? If it's not a zombie, you're going to have to do a lot of coding to have an effect on this as it pins if it's not a zombie. You'll have to set that up because it's really, really deep. But it will pin this because the world static. I mean, it might work. You could try it with the HGT VFX and the projectile, which you're going to have stock set up anyway. You see here, if I pin this, if I hit that, it's still pinning this wood, but I have ricochets so it lands wild places. So if I come over here, you can see it's hitting the stuff behind, and it's also doing like it's. If I go through this, it's not going to land over there. It's going to ricochet and come out on the top left, or it's going to land all over the place. And when you hit a zombie, your effect should still be the same on zombies. Like, you shouldn't have any give issues at this point if I did my math right. And you can see it went through that zombie and then still hit the projectile stop back here. So like if I hit this guy, it's still, you can see it landed. You saw the spot. I don't know where it hit exactly. I don't think it showed up, but you can see it's still pinning. You know what I mean? Yours will probably look like this if it's a static object. If the you'll have to make sure you get the, because this one on the left is a world dynamic type, so you can see it's going right through that and not hitting it. And this one's a world static. It's penetrating it with effects. Just a. I wanna. So you can see all of those went through the zombie. I'm trying to get them lined up. Headshot. Well, you're not gonna be. You won't have this problem. Mine's not gonna do a direct headshot because it goes through their skull and bounces. So that's probably, it's gonna be, unless all of this can be changed in each one of your child blueprints, right? If you're doing bounces, then you can make the bullet go straight. If I don't do this at all, like if I get rid of this, it'll just continue to go straight. It won't have any threshold or for changing speeds or anything. So that's why mine's not double tapping headshots. Your doors and stuff, like this would be the collision for a penetratable object. If you want it to not hit the outside of it, it's going to be world dynamic, and then it'll just go straight through it with no ricochet or anything. Like these objects here, you need to make sure your door trigger is a world dynamic type and set it how it looks here. Pause for a sec. You can pause the video and check that out. And then your collision box needs to look like this. And they need to generate overlap events. And then, yep, your collision box should look like this. You want to block pawns, but you don't want to block world dynamic. You want the world dynamic to go through and ignore it. And it needs to be a world dynamic type. Bullet, projectiles, all these initial traces need to be off. Don't use CCD on this. Yeah, just make sure all of your invisible like boxes and stuff here, like your blocking volumes, are world dynamic and set up properly, so that the bullets, like just like this, not gonna pin it or change trajectory when it goes through it. If you have that set up, it should just go whoop, right through like it didn't touch anything. I'm pretty sure. If you have any collision issues, just kind of run around the map and shoot stuff and see if it's like, oh, I have an issue here. Like, oh, what's going on with this little blocking volume here? Oh, my static mesh is not set up correct or whatever. Like this static mesh, this is my main static mesh. Anything you want it to hit needs to be a world static object type. And you want it to block the bullet trace and initial bullet trace and all that stuff for hit scan as well. But you don't want. I would just set it up like this for your static meshes, honestly. You're gonna have to play with collision because there's a lot of stuff that changes when you're trying to penetrate objects, and the collision gets wacky. Make sure your zombies aren't walking through walls, because all this stuff is gonna change. And I don't want you to ruin your game because zombies start walking through walls when you start changing collisions and shit like this. You need to be really careful with your, and if they are walking through walls, you got to be really careful with your nav mesh to make sure that your blocking volumes and such are your look like this, and your zombies still can't go through. Because you start messing with navigation and stuff like that, you're gonna have problems. Like even this one is, this one just straight deletes the wall, which is why it's not right, because this is a nav area null, which is they won't go through that at all. And then I don't really think there's too much else. Let me know if this helped. If I missed anything, message me. That should be it. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.